Hello, friends/casual acquaintances. I would really love to join your Commander playgroup. I took the liberty of printing out my favorite deck list. Go ahead, take a look.
So what would you say is your greatest weakness as a Commander player?
Oh, well, I have a small, very tiny ego. The slightest grievance, even reasonable attacks or responses to my actions will send me into a vitriolic, negative tailspin that I will be unable to break free of, and I will exact my revenge, be it this game or 1 month later, making me unpredictable, unreliable, and unbearable to get games with.
Yeah, we interviewed a few players like that. What are your strengths as a player?
My intense desire to be thought of as a creative commander deck builder, my deep need to be liked and respected drives me to create wholly original decks where I avoid the cliche combos, never place the typical win conditions inside, and won't even run a commander if it's listed within the top 500 on EDH Rec.
Oh, so that's why you submitted Jared Kadeen.
Ranked number 619 on EDH Rec. Praise me.
No.
It's a Metalcraft vehicles build. You know, I don't even watch game nights.
I'm sure you don't. Are you willing to be friendly to the playgroup and have pre-game discussions?
Ha! Let the lambs bleat. What does a wolf such as myself care about the opinions of sheep?
So that's,
Yes, pre-game talks are fine.
And do you have any issues with people running proxies?
None whatsoever, so long as they're clearly marked.
And are you okay if some nights we play Plane Chase or Arch Enemy?
Excellent. Well, this looks pretty standard. Do you have any questions for us?
Well, I've shown you my deck list. I'd love to know what all of you are playing.
Edgar Markov.
Grand Arbiter. Stacks and mass land destruction.
Simic value engine with no real win cons.
And who's the commander for the Simic deck?
It doesn't matter.
You people are sick! Jor Kadeen is a 5/4 human warrior for 3 generic mana, a red, and a white with first strike. In addition, he also has a Metalcraft ability that reads, creatures you control get +3/+0 as long as you control 3 or more artifacts. This deck is about running over your opponents to be able to cross the finish line first. There are 15 different vehicles in the deck with minimal power of 2 and a maximum of 6, and with Jor Kadeen in full effect, a minimal of 5 and a maximum of 9. Once we have Metalcraft, there is no creature in the deck that cannot crew any vehicle. But even in a pinch, if we only have 1 creature, we can use that to perform a daisy chain. This means we tap a small creature to crew a vehicle that then is big enough to crew an even bigger vehicle. Also, as a reminder, each vehicle counts towards the 3 or more required for Jor Kadeen's ability. They each bring something to the board that makes them stand out and gives us many options for many different game states. And of course, we've got a nice backup win con, which is just attacking in with commander damage. Always great for when the game calls for it, as Jor himself is a 4-turn win con, or even a 3-turn if we have his Metalcraft going. Let's take a look at our garage, shall we? Parthelion 2 is going to be one of our MVPs in this race. One of, if not the biggest vehicles in existence, Parthelion 2 is a 5/5 vehicle with a crew cost of 4 for 6 generic and 2 white mana. It has flying, first strike, and vigilance, and reads, whenever Parthelion 2 attacks, create 2 4/4 white angel creature tokens with flying and vigilance that are attacking. Not only does it do some serious damage on its own, it also brings extra bodies in to help with the fight. With Jor Kadeen's Metalcraft ability engaged, you're looking at a total of 22 damage in the air in 1 strike. Those angel tokens can then be used on subsequent turns to crew Parthelion 2 as a blocker or act as blockers themselves. Another of our sizable machines of doom is a seemingly unwieldy common, Aradara Express. Coming in at 5 generic mana with a crew cost of 4 for an 8/6 body with Menace, it won't take long for our opponents to begin to feel the squeeze. That Menace means we'll be taking down chump blockers 2 at a time, and with our commander in play, it will only be a matter of time before an 11/6 body proves deadly. Life is a resource, and nowhere is that more true than in Commander, where various fetch, shock, and pain lands are commonly used to perfect complicated mana bases. Our opponents will regret such consistency when facing down the Aradara Express. And while Parthilion 2 may be our premier flying vehicle, Heart of Kirin, Sky Sovereign, Console Flagship, and the Weatherlight join it in the skies, and can even come down earlier, often providing extra utility. Heart of Kirin is a great early turn threat that, like Parthilion 2, has vigilance, so it can act as both an attacker and potentially as a blocker when necessary. Its ability allowing us to pay for its crew cost with Planeswalker loyalty adds an extra layer of flexibility. Sky Sovereign, Console Flagship, on the other hand, costs 3 more mana than Heart of Kirin, but when it attacks, it deals 3 damage to a target creature or Planeswalker an opponent controls. Many of your opponent's utility creatures will be shot down, and between its ability and flying, the Sky Sovereign will be able to deal with even the heaviest Planeswalkers your opponents may be running. Finally, there is the Weatherlight. Whenever the Weatherlight deals combat damage to an opponent, we get the opportunity to dig for more of our historic cards, in other words, legendary cards, artifacts, and sagas, of which we run 42, a third of which are other vehicles. Then we have the on-screen part here. Akroma's Will can help turn a seemingly minor attack into certain death for an opponent. Teferi's Protection, on the other hand, will keep us alive even when all hope seems lost. When playing against more reactive colors like blue, black, and now even green, it is good to have a few tricks up one's sleeve. Lure the biggest threat on the table into a false sense of security by swinging in with your big creatures. And when they crack back, flash in Masako the Humorless to block with your already tapped creatures, or hit them with a Settle the Wreckage and really ruin their day. Masako might be humorless, but we'll be laughing all the way. Finally, with Armed and Armored, we get the best of both worlds, being able to use it to alpha strike or block out of nowhere. Gotta love that versatility. Flying isn't the only form of evasion available to our vehicles. With Mizium Tank, Fleetwheel Cruiser, Renegade Freighter, Thundering Chariot, and Untethered Express, Trample comes into the picture. In addition to Trample and their reasonable mana costs, low crew costs can make these vehicles early game beaters, while abilities like those on Untethered Express and Renegade Freighter ensure their utility well into the late game. Vehicles, however, can't usually operate themselves. So in addition to our fabulous fleet, we will need some prestigious pilots. Depala Pilot Exemplar stands out both for being able to pump up our vehicles, and when tapping to crew them, being able to dig for more, assuming we have the mana to sink in. Renegade Wheelsmith likewise proves useful when being used to crew, allowing us to keep a target creature from blocking our vehicles. Speedway Fanatic grants a vehicle haste whenever it happens to crew said vehicle, while Monastery Mentor both grows in power whenever we cast a vehicle, and creates extra bodies to aid in crewing it. Captivating Crew allows us to steal an opponent's creature and have them help crew our vehicles. Finally, what kind of vehicle deck would this be if there wasn't a vehicle that helps make our vehicles run? Peace Walker Colossus allows us to turn our other vehicles on without crewing them for a mere 1 generic and a white mana. Vehicles helping vehicles, what a world. If all else fails, Jor-Kadeen itself is a great backup plan to go for the commander damage route, as we almost always have Metalcraft with or without the vehicles, and in most cases will attack as an 8/4 first strike, making this a 3-hit clock with commander damage. Though I gotta admit, winning this way is considered highway robbery. Do you get it? Highway robbery. Yeah, you get it. While vehicles represent our primary strategy, it's good to remember that they are not our only means of empowering Jor-Kadeen. Treasure generators like Magda, Brazen Outlaw, Smothering Tithe, and Dockside Extortionist serve both to accelerate our mana production and turn Metalcraft on, as does our old friend Solemn Simulacrum. Breya's Apprentice and Thopter Engineer likewise aid with Metalcraft by producing Thopter tokens, while adding extra utility in combat themselves. And the name of the game with this deck is indeed extra utility. Many of our cards serve double or even triple duty. Alabo, Ancient Witness, is an artifact creature for 3 generic, a white and a red mana that gives our vehicles haste. Deals direct damage to any target based on our tapped artifacts, and scries. Scaretiller may seem like a bit of a dark horse in this deck, but with its triggered abilities upon being tapped, to, say, crew a vehicle perhaps, and a number of lands that frequently find themselves in the graveyard, he is, in reality, an excellent utility player. 2 more vehicles aid us in mana acceleration. Cultivator's Caravan, which can either tap for a mana of any color, or be crewed to form a 5/5 body, and Raider's Carve, which lets us look at the top card of our library whenever it attacks, and if that card is a land, put it onto the battlefield tapped. A massive utility in this deck is Forsaken Monument, as it helps both to accelerate mana production and pump our team of vehicles. And obviously, with all these artifacts, Metalworker is a great addition to this deck. So if you have one lying around, or you're rich enough to spend the cash on one, go ahead. For the rest of us, just write Metalworker on another card, and then say it's a Metalworker. It's Casual Commander, you can do that. Red and white are colors with a tendency to burn out quickly due to less than stellar card draw. But with the likes of Shram, Senior Edificer, Esper Sentinel, and Smuggler's Copter, we are unlikely to run out of cards to play. Throw in Nahiri, the Harbinger, and Quicksmith Genius to trade dead cards in hand for some more potential gas. While, as always, Ugin the Ineffable both provides eventual card draw and extra bodies to crew our vehicles. Now, the Immortal Sun works as card draw and a search engine, and having this out with Ugin still doesn't shut down Ugin's static ability. To make all of our spells cost 1 less and colorless spells cost 3 less. It will shut down the activated abilities of Ugin and Nahiri, but with so many discard to draw effects in red, this helps us decide what we need to discard. Overall, it's not that big of a deal if we have this affecting our walkers, because we can wait to play this until after having used them, allowing us to close in on a victory by drawing a card each turn for no mana, while it also adds to Metalcraft. The vehicle, Conqueror's Galleon, transforms into the land Conqueror's Foothold, which doubles as another source of card draw, in addition to mana production, as do War Room and Miko Koro, Center of the Sea. Always great for when we're in a bind. Add a couple of cycle lands, Faithless Looting, and a Thrill of Possibility, along of course with Archaeomancer's Map and Tithe to guarantee you make your land drops. And that'll make our ride as smooth as can be. When we do hit the occasional bump in the road, Refurbish and Buried Rune means we won't have to sit on the side for too long. And of course, no commander deck is complete without a solid removal suite, and this deck is no exception. Efficient targeted removal like Chaos Warp, Swords to Plowshares, and Dispatch are joined by excellent board wipes like Steer Command and End Hostilities. Scourglass, a favorite of mine, acts as both a one-sided board wipe and a target for removal that might otherwise hit one of our important vehicles. When we have to face down multiple artifacts or enchantments, Crush Contraband and Return to Dust allow us to deal with the most imminent threats 2 at a time. So say so long to our opponent's Rhystic Study and Soul Rings simultaneously. While our land base has the usual suspects, it also contains 4 artifact lands, along with 3 lands that can become artifacts. Blink Moth Nexus, Ink Moth Nexus, and Mishra's Factory can all become artifact creatures, turning on Jor Kadeen's Metalcraft and crewing our vehicles. Slayer's Stronghold and Sunhome Fortress of the Legion double as ways to empower our vehicles in combat as well. This deck list was developed by Andrew Weber of the EDH Commander Facebook group, which happens to be the largest MTG Commander Facebook group right now. It's a wonderful resource for deck lists, advice on your own builds, and just a general positive and well-maintained community for all things EDH. If you're interested in checking the group out, I'll link it in this video's description. What deck would you like to see a tech on next? Let me know in the comments below.
I hear you have been looking for me, mortal. Welcome to my manor, and please mind yours, lest you lose what you so charmingly refer to as your life. So it is the power of the mortal vampires you seek for your general? I can't say I blame you. We vampires are the only choice when it comes to commander, or did Wizards of the Coast make an angel tribal deck that I didn't hear of? No? Exactly.